Happy day everybody, my name is Jeremy and this is Barbecue Elementary. And today I'll be making a couple of old favorites and giving them a new spin. We're going to smoke up some stuffed bell peppers and pair them with a Japanese whiskey old fashioned. Let's go. To get things started, I whipped up a little Greek-ish seasoning for the stuffing. Here's what went in: 2 tablespoons of salt, 1 tablespoon each of black pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and oregano. Then I added 2 teaspoons each of parsley and dillweed. Then a teaspoon of thyme and a teaspoon of rosemary. And lastly, for a little touch of warmth, I went with a half a teaspoon of nutmeg and a half a teaspoon of cinnamon. Then I gave it a good shake to bring everything together. You can add a teaspoon of cornstarch if you want to keep it from clumping, but I'll probably go through this batch in the next few weeks, so I left it out. Once my seasoning was ready to go, it was time to prep all the veggies. First, I grabbed my bell peppers. Now, this stuffing recipe makes enough for about 6, maybe even a little more, but I only used 3 today since it was lunchtime and that's all I needed. Plus, I can't stand leftover peppers once they've already been cooked. If you're making this at home, just keep it in mind that the amount of stuffing I'll show you later on will easily fill 6 peppers or more. Once I picked out the 3 peppers that stood up best on their own, I just chopped off their tops and scooped out the seeds and the pith from the inside to make some room for the stuffing. And then I grabbed a fairly large shallot and gave it a good dice. You can really use any onion for this recipe, but I went to the grocery store early and this is what they had out. Besides, I love shallots and you should too. Next, I selected 4 of the finest mushrooms from their package, washed and destemmed them, and gave them a rough chop. Growing up, my mom would usually keep the tops together so we could put them back on top after they were cooked, but this time I decided to dice the tops and add them into the stuffing. Just remember to remove the stem. After the veggies were prepped and set aside, it was time to brown some meat. For this recipe, I used a pound of sweet Italian sausage and 1 pound of ground beef. After breaking up and mixing the meat, I added some of the Greek-ish seasoning I'd made earlier. I'd say it was about 2 tablespoons total after testing and adding later on. I also added extra salt and pepper to taste, and I encourage you to do so as well. Once the meat was browned, I pulled it out to drain over a couple of paper towels inside a bowl and moved on to cooking the veggies. I added a little olive oil and started with the peppers and mushrooms. And after a few minutes they were slightly softened, so I added a little more olive oil and then threw in the shallots. You'll only want to cook everything till about 3/4 of the way done, that way it can finish cooking inside the stuffing while you're smoking the peppers. Once I was satisfied with everything, I pulled out the paper towels from the meat and moved on to mixing the stuffing together. I also made about a cup of white rice off camera to add into the mixture as well, so once that was all mixed together, it was time to stuff the peppers. The stuffing pepper step is probably the easiest step because all you have to do is stuff the peppers in this step. Seriously though, all you have to do is fill them to the brim and voila, they are ready to go on the smoker. Also, because I didn't have enough peppers for all the stuffing, I threw the remaining mixture into a cast iron to go into the smoker with the peppers. Also, remember to use a chicken rack if you have one. I preheated the smoker to 300 degrees and expected them to cook for about a total of an hour. After about 50 minutes, I added some cheese to the top of the peppers, as well as the mixture reserved in the cast iron to melt for the last 10 minutes of the cook. You can use whatever cheese you'd like. This is cheddar jack. While the cheese melted, it was time to quickly make the cocktail to pair with our peppers. First, I gave the glass a little yuzu rinse. This adds a subtle, bright note to the drink that I think would just go really nice. Then I added a large ice cube into the yuzu-rinsed rocks glass as well as the chilled mixing glass. Then I added half an ounce of demerara syrup followed by 2 ounces of Harazaki small batch and 2 dashes of Peychaud's bitters. Then I stirred the drink till it was chilly willy, gave it a quick balance check, and strained it over the huge rock in the rocks glass. Then I made myself a nice lemon peel to express into the drink for a little oomph and finished the drink with that peel as a garnish. Once the drink was finished and the peppers were cooked, it was time to test and grade everything. This is Barbecue Elementary after all. The looks get a B+, because just look at them. They look awesome. And as for the taste of the peppers, I'll also give them a B+. They were rich, perfectly smoky, slightly spicy, and had that once you pop you just can't stop quality that you're always trying to achieve. The cheese was also perfectly melted and the pepper was cooked through perfectly with just a little snap left, just the way I like it. Now let's move on to the drink. This one gets a solid B. It was very nicely balanced, not too sweet, which was great, and the little hint the yuzu left was a very nice touch. The small batch also has a nice smokiness that just works well. I was really pleased with this simple little cocktail. So the overall grade for this pairing is a B+, and I highly recommend you give it a whirl. And as always, thanks a million for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't to follow me along on my adventures through Barbecue Elementary.